Welcome, everybody, to the Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework bi-weekly sync. My name is Hugo Bernier, and I will be your host for today. We have a packed agenda today. Of course, we'll cover the latest updates on the SharePoint Framework as usual, and we'll do our community project updates. And then we'll have a picture time with together mode so we can all show to the community how awesome we are. Thank you for the special effects here. And then we have three amazing demos, probably the best part of today's call. We have Denis Molodtsov, who's going to be showing how to reuse SharePoint CSS classes in SPFx and column formatting. Guido Zambarda is going to show how to share data between SPFx web parts, and Adam is going to talk to us about the SharePoint Framework Toolkit 3.0. It's a new release that shows how to build and manage your SPFx solutions with ease. Let's get started. So we have lots of community initiatives and resources available to you. We have our Microsoft Community Learning videos. We have our LinkedIn group for discussions. We have tons of open source initiatives, as well as sample galleries. And then we have a website where you can find all these resources in one place, and you can get that by going to aka.ms/community/home. Speaking of that community home, we've given it a little facelift so you can find all the resources in one place. And we've added some new functionality, for example, richer calendar functionality so you can keep track of what calls are coming next, add those calendars to your calendar, and so on and so forth. You can get all these cool things by going to aka.ms/community/home. And we have a new Microsoft Community Learning channel on YouTube. And so what we're doing here is we're kind of bringing all the resources in one place. And you can get to that by going to aka.ms/community/YouTube, or of course, by just visiting YouTube and hoping it shows up for you. Our Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community calls are regular calls that, well, like this one, you can attend. Everyone's invited to attend. We have our Microsoft 365 and Power Platform weekly calls with Microsoft speakers. And then on a monthly basis, we have the Power Platform community call and our Office add-in monthly calls. And then every other week, we take turns with the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community call and the Viva Connection and SharePoint Framework bi-weekly call, which is today's call. You can get all these invites by going to aka.ms/community/calls. And the agendas are always published in our Meetup channel by going to aka.ms/community/meetup. And our next Microsoft 365 and Power Platform weekly call is, of course, going to talk about the latest news from Microsoft engineering directly from the horse's mouth. We're always going to have our community together mode. And then Fabian is going to show us advanced consideration for custom Microsoft Graph connectors. And Vesa Ivonen is going to talk to us about introducing the latest features and capabilities in Viva Connections. That's not a call to miss. Now, if you'd like to present at any of these community calls, you are welcome. Everyone is welcome to present here. All you need to do is go to, if I could speak, go to aka.ms/community/request/demo and let us know what you'd like to demo. We don't accept sales demos or anything like that, but if you have cool initiatives that you've worked on, cool code that you want to share or anything like that, we would love to hear from you. And then we'll figure out which is the best call for you. And speaking of guidance, or since we have Guido today, guidance, let's learn how to get started with the community. And to talk about that, we have our friend David.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Hugo Bernier. Yes, friends, so Sharing is Caring is back. If you're familiar with this, you're excited. If you're not familiar, let me tell you a little bit about it. It's a program that we provide that it provides hands-on guidance. What does that mean? It means that we're going to join live Teams calls together and we're going to work through a challenge. So, for example, coming up on Monday, May 20th at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time is our samples contributor session. We are going to work through creating a pull request in GitHub. It's going to be real on a real repository. If you're unfamiliar with any of those terms, but you still want to learn how to contribute samples to the community, Join. It's absolutely free. It's a safe space. We don't record it, so you can ask any and all questions without worry of, should I have asked that question and it got recorded? Oh my goodness. No, we're all learning together. So check it out. You can go sign up at aka.ms/sharingiscaring, and we are starting to ramp up more sessions. Now, once you do contribute, we want to recognize you. So that's where our recognition program comes in. This is a fantastic program that is now many years running, powered by Credly, officially accredited, and ready for you to contribute and be recognized. So you can put those badges on your LinkedIn profile, Twitter profile, blog, resume. Show your management or your clients that you're making a difference. It is a real accredited process and program, so it is 100% free as well. We cover the cost, and we've got new badges coming up all the time. In fact, I've been talking about that what is it? The multiverse contributor. So when you're contributing across multiple repositories, we're going to recognize that as well. And we're doing lots of new programs for the upcoming year. So get excited, get signed up, aka.ms/community/recognition. Mr. Bernier in the Toronto studios, back to you.
Well, thank you. Now let's talk about the SharePoint framework, latest updates from Microsoft Engineering on Viva, Microsoft Team, and SharePoint extensibility. And I guess I am presenting this today since everyone is away at the conference. So we have SharePoint Framework 119, which is generally available. I've been really excited about this release. Go take a look. There's lots of really cool features. But here's our road ahead roadmap. So again, the 119 has been available since the 30th of April. We've got all sorts of new features, including new shapes for Viva Connections card. We got chart cards. We've made tons of accessibility improvements. We've improved our technical stack with Fluent V9 and Webpack V5. And then we fixed some issues. You can actually go report some of these issues if you run into issues, because we're always trying to improve. You can go to aka.ms/SPFx/issues. And then our new Brand Central guidance and options for custom fonts, which is very exciting. Now, in the next 3 months or so, we're looking at 1.20, which will include new chart types for Viva Connections and more updates on the technical stack and more exciting announcements. And our focus areas really are SPFx and Copilot integration scenarios. No public previews yet, but stay tuned. All right, and now let's talk about our open source projects. And to talk about PNP.js, we have
me.
Patrick. Yay!
So PNP.js updates. Version 4 is out. I really encourage everybody to move to version 4 when you have a chance. Try it out. Let us know if you see any issues. Upgrades should be really smooth from going 3 to 4. No real big structural changes. There are big changes going 2 to 3. Not really the case for going 3 to 4. It's more additive. We got tons more graph support in there. Great work by Bo Cameron and Julie Turner. So do check out, please, version 4. And there are nightly builds of version 4 as well that you can try out. Version 3 support will continue, but start to taper off as before with older versions. With the number of maintainers, we can't just keep everything going all the time. And we have stopped the V3 nightly builds. We just don't really need them as much, and we won't be putting as much new stuff into V3. So as a way to kind of reduce the stuff that was happening. Don't forget, you can always install the nightly builds there with the command line. Docs link is there. Twitter followed us. Well, I'll be honest, I'm not on Twitter anymore. So I don't know what's going on over there. But LinkedIn, try out the new M365 platform community for updates as well. And thank you all. Appreciate everybody's usage of PNP.js and continued feedback. And back over to Hugo.
Thank you. I definitely want to emphasize great work from Julie Turner on this, by the way. All right, let's talk about the CLI for Microsoft 365.
And burn.
Adam.
as well. Yes. So hi everybody. So CLI for Microsoft 365. We just had a 7.8.1 release. Patch release exactly. We had a small error that broke the login command when you were using the authentication method using the certificate. and it came from one of our dependencies. So we released a quick patch release to resolve this issue. And along the way, we added up the support for SPFx 1.19, so the latest version of SharePoint Framework, in all of our SPFx commands, which are SPFx Doctor, SPFx Project Doctor, and SPFx Upgrade. So now you can get guidance and validate your project against the latest version of SPFx, which is really awesome. Do remember that you can either generate the Markdown report or also use the output tour, which will give you a code tour directly in your code, which is bananas. And we also have a new SharePoint Online command, which allows you to remove items from a list in a batch. Really awesome. If you want to try it out, just be sure to add the add next in the npm and docker command. Check out our release notes to find out more. And please do remember we have a Discord server. And at the last Monday of every month at 4 p.m. Central European time, we have office hours where you can connect with us, meet us, chat about anything, or we could try resolve your problems using CLI. Follow us on Twitters, and back to you, Twitter and LinkedIn. Okay, the socials. No, it doesn't matter. Okay, back to you, Hugo. Thanks a lot. Oh, no, it's still me.
Yeah. And back to you, Adam.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So hi, everybody, again. This is Dev Proxy, and the team just released a new minor release, also 0.17.1, really waiting for the 1.0, but still, we are still in the minor releases. And here the team that did an awesome job adding new integrations with other API centers, which is really cool because now that Dev Proxy can check if your app uses production APIs, which is really awesome. They updated the mock responses plugin, which is really cool because till now we could Dev Proxy could match only and check if the current request matches the URL, and if so, it sent there is a mock response, and now it can check also for body. So you could, for example, have an app that does many post requests and with different body in the request, and the mock response plugin will only check and send the mock response when the body will match. So this is really cool. They simplified the installation process using WinJet for Windows and Homebrew for Mac. I love this name, Homebrew, get it? Okay, doesn't matter. But still, it's really simplified now because before it was kind of hacky and there was a script that did everything for you. And now WinJet does everything for you, or Homebrew does the brewing for you. And there's a VS Code extension also named the Proxy Toolkit in the 0.3 version, which helps you boost, helps you basically create and validate your configuration file for the proxy, because sometimes it's not that easy. And Gary's not here because he's at CS. If you still have the opportunity, maybe you can find him still somewhere there and say hello. And back to you, Hugo.
Are you sure? All right.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Let's pass it to Alex to talk about our awesome reusable SPFx controls. Alex?
Yep, thank you, Hugo. So we finally have released the new versions of both controls yesterday. So React controls are 3.18.0 and property controls are 3.17.0. So for React controls, we have a lot of enhancements in there. No new components, but a lot of enhancements, bug fixes as usual. For property controls, we have two new controls, property field button, property field grid, and you can see them on the screenshots to the right on the slide. And as always, special thanks to all our contributors who are making these releases so cool and so awesome for all of us. So thank you very much, and back to you, Hugo.
Thank you so much, Alex. And it feels like Adam hasn't talked in a while, so why don't we bring him back to talk about SharePoint Framework?
Of course, and this I love to talk about. And if you are doing any kind of SPFx development, any kind of SharePoint Framework solutions, be sure to use this toolkit. It's a VS Code extension that will boost your coding, managing your solution, creating scaffolding, and many, many more. Be sure to wait till end of this call, which I will be presenting only the features we added in the v3. So not all of the features, only those in the v3. And we just released a new minor release 3.2, where we added the support for the SPFx, for the latest version of SPFx, which is 1.19 and 19. And now you can generate the upgrade and validate report from this tool for the latest version of SPFx, which is really, really cool. Be sure to try it out if you're doing any kind of SPFx development. You can download it directly from the VS Code Marketplace, and we have many issues you can contribute to. So if you want to help us create the best SPFx tooling in the world and learn VS Code extensibility along the way, go and visit our repository aka.ms/viva/vscode, and happy coding, everybody. Back to you, Hugo.
All right, thank you. We have SPFx samples, web parts, and extensions that are available to you. We have no new samples that we've processed or no new pull requests that we've processed, but you can go find all these samples by going to aka.ms/SPFx-webparts or SPFx-extensions. And of course, all the samples that we have across all the repositories can also be found at aka.ms/M365/samples. We love samples, so if you have something cool to share, please don't hesitate to create a pull request. We also have our SPFx adaptive card extensions. Likewise, you can go at aka.ms/SPFx-aces and submit some of your cool samples if you'd like to share. Again, thank you to everyone who has shared. But now let's move to our optional picture time. If you'd like to, every time with that sound effect. Every time. If you'd like to turn on your camera, and we'll take a quick GIF animation of how awesome this community is.
Always clicking, Wazowski.
Oh.
All right, let's actually see. Is it possible to? Let's see. We're working with Professor. There we go. We're in school today with Professor Bernier. So excellent. All right, a couple more seconds we'll give everyone. All right, still see some filling in there. All right, a couple more. Still have some room. It's a little pixelated today, but it is okay. All right, let's start the recording here. 3, 2, 1. Woo! All right, wave everybody. Show how awesome you are. Woo! Yay! Excellent. Looking fantastic. All right, I realize my camera's not on, but I don't even know if I'll show up. But there we go. Oh, look at me. I'm in the front.
You had your chance.
Yep. All right. Thank you, everybody. Hugo, feel free to take on back over.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, I'll only take over for a short time because it's now time for our demos. And first, we have Denis Molodtsov, who will talk about reusing SharePoint CSS classes in SPFx and column formatting. Denis, the floor or the screen is yours.
Thanks, Hugo. My name is Denis Molodtsov, and I live in Toronto, Canada. I love automating everything. Today I'm gonna share with you how to reuse CSS classes that are already built in SharePoint Online and can be applied to things like list formatting and even SPFx. In terms of SPFx, the latest and greatest approach, as far as I understand, is to use tokens that appear like this. And in your SPFx web part, you can then reference your classes this way. However, this is a bit experimental. You could also kind of hard code the classes this way. The only trick is, how do you know which classes are available to you? So I'm going to show you. This is a website that I built about 4 years ago, and I kept up to date. And what it does, it lets you browse every style or most styles that are already loaded to your SharePoint Online page. You can not only see the class names, but you can also see visually what is a class doing. There are quite a few classes. Some of them are, I would say, not really recommended to be used, but many of them were here for at least 5 years and they're still working perfectly fine. And you can take any of these and copy to your list formatting. For example, this is a sample list, doesn't really matter what it contains, but let's say I want to apply some styling to this column. If I Let's start from scratch. So you might notice that somehow the out-of-the-box list formatting already uses some classes. You could, and you might wonder, where are these coming from and what's the full list? How can I find out what these are? You could, let's say, search for this one and find it here. You can maybe change it by copying one of these and replacing this one with something else. As you can see, the color changes. And you could maybe find another one, see what this one is. This one just makes your text either black or gray, depending on the theme. You could also go a little bit more creative and apply several classes in parallel, like the background. Then you can do maybe boldness. Then you can even add a border. You can change the size. Yeah, you could even use classes that have multiple styles applied to them, like this one. And many of these classes are dynamic, meaning that even though the color appears blue right now, if I change the theme, it should show something else. You see, it changes with the theme. And this is true for many of these classes. Many of them flip from black to white and vice versa, depending on the class name. There are quite a few nice resources that you could use to read more about classes and how the naming conventions are formed. For example, if you go to the developer.microsoft.com Fluent UI, you can read on which styling names are used and what they are for. For example, there are so-called neutrals, then shared colors. These are not dynamic, these are static, but also useful. And you can also find the theme colors, the dynamic ones. You might not be able to find everything like font sizes, borders and such, but this is still a very good start. There is another great resource, which is PNP samples. There is a section for list formatting. And right here in the documentation, you could read on what kind of class groups you can use. For example, there is a separate group for backgrounds or borders or text. You can even use some classes for animation. I haven't added those yet to this site you just saw, but I'm going to work on that. The only little disadvantage is that by using this page, you might not always see a preview. So this is why you could still go here to see what, like on a single page, what a result of a class application will appear. You could also use the classes in SPFx, and this is a sample, very basic example where I'm just using a bunch of random classes I found, and I just create a div and apply a class like this. This is basically hard-coded, not super recommended. This is just an experiment to show you how it works. So one of the problems with using this approach is that when you use the workbench, none of the styles that are that contain these special classes are applicable. However, you can load the special CSS file for the workbench, and these will be colored. And when you deploy it, these styles will work just as you saw on the CSS classes index site. Yeah, use it at your own risk, but the main application of these classes here is to use it for list formatting and column formatting. Okay, over to you, Hugo and David.
Wonderful. Thank you, Denis. This is super useful. Amazing. It's already been 4 years since you started building this. Now let's move on to Guido Zambarda to talk about sharing data between SPFx web parts. Guido, you can take over the screen anytime.
Yes, just a second. Oops. Sorry, wrong screen. Give me a second.
No worries.
And here I am. Hello, folks.
Perfect.
And welcome to, you can see it? Okay. Welcome to my demo. I'm going to talk about connecting SharePoint Framework web parts using dynamic data. I'm Guido Zambarda. I'm a Microsoft certified senior software developer at PSS.com, and these are my social handles and my blog. So feel free to contact me if you want, and please reach out or follow everything I post. So, setting some context of my demo. I'm basically starting from a scaffolded solution using or Yeoman generator or Visual Studio Code extension, such as the SPFx extension that Adam said before. And I've got 2 web parts. One is a source or provider web part, and the other is a target or consumer web part. And in this sample, I want to connect those web parts to show the data from the first web part to the second. So proceeding with the demo, this is my developer environment, and I have placed the 2 web parts in the same page, so we can see in real time what is happening. On the left side, we have the source web part, and on the right side, we have the target web part. As I said, I want to connect one with the other. So starting with the result, if I say place my name and my surname in the left side web part, the right side will get update, yes, with the right surname. And also we have the possibility to specify other properties. I divided the target web part in 3 main groups. So in the first one that I called simple data, we have just in the sample only text values. So it is simply straightforward. In the second group, we have the complex objects. So I construct a complex object with 3 different properties and show them in here. And the last one is the page environment group, which is not defined in the source web part, but only in the target web part. I will show you what I'm talking about and how to achieve this. In the property pane, just to be clear of what you can do, in the property pane of the source web part, we do not have any property to set. Instead, in the target web part, we have a bunch of properties, each one for the property that we want to show, to connect, sorry. And for example, the first name, I am specifying that I want to connect to the source web part, and that from the available properties, I want to display the first name. And I did the same for the last name and also for the complex object. The different one is the page environment, where instead of the source web part, I specified the page environment property. And then from there, I just get the username of the current user information. Just for the sake of knowing it, you can also have site properties and a bunch of other things already available in the page environment. So let me show you the code, if I can find the right window. Okay. This is my solution. And as I said before, I have two web parts, a source and a target web part. And to make the connection available in the source web part, you have to do a couple of things. One of those is to that the source web part will have to implement the iDynamic data callables interface that will make available a couple of methods that we want to use. One is the get property definitions method, which just tell every consumer web part which are the properties available from this web part. And you have an array of objects, which is composed of objects with an ID that I used from a constant file. So I can reuse in all the web part. And also the title property, which will be the display name of the property available. Also, from the iDynamic data callables interface, we have the get property value, which will receive the name, the ID of the property that we want to return. And with a switch, in my case, I just return the value. So to achieve this, you have to define some methods that you will have to pass to the component of this web part. For example, sticking with the first name, I have a first name changed method, which will call the dynamic data source manager of the context and notify the property changed to every web part that is subscribed to this property. Also, I was forgetting, in the onInit method, you have to tell the dynamic data source manager to initialize this web part as a source. So it will be available to the subscribers' web parts. Proceeding, I will show you how to use the methods, the onChange methods. So in the source web part component, I rendered a section where I simply have, for example, sticking with the first name, a text field, and on the onChange event, I just call the first name changed method that I passed through the properties of the web part. And for example, for the complex object, I just did a bunch of methods to wrap up everything and call the onPreference change. So I have one method for each of the properties, and then every one of those will call the same method. And this is all for the source web part. Going to the target web part, we have also to do something here, and it's defining the properties of the web part, which are dynamic properties from the @Microsoft SP component base package. And the dynamic property accepts the type of the property that we are setting. So I have the strings for the simple properties and the iPreference in my sample for the complex object. And also here, finally, we have the username, because this web part only connects to the page environment, so it's not needed to have this kind of property in the source web part. Also, these properties have to be defined in the get property pane configuration. So here we have our groups. I divided those in the basic group, complex group, and page environment. So we have different groups to see those things. And each one will have to be defined as property pane dynamic field, which will which will take care of creating all the connecting stuff. So this method will create all the components you needed to select the wanted field. And finally, to use the values that we're getting from the source web part, in the target component of the target web part, we're taking the properties that we binded in the property pane, and for each of those, we will call the try-get-value method, which simply return the values. So in the target component, we'll just simply show the first name or preferences values or the username that we binded before from the source web part or the page environment. Returning to the slides, just a simple wrap up. The source web part must implement the iDynamic data callables interface. And from this interface, you want to implement the get property definitions to return the available property from that web part, and the get property value with the property ID that we want to retrieve the value of. And also on in the onInit method, you have to initialize the source web part as a data source and define the the methods to notify the target web parts of the property changed. For the target web part, instead, you have to define the properties as a dynamic property of T based on the type of the property. And also in the get property pane configuration, you have to define each of the property that you want to bind with the property pane dynamic field. And at least you have to call the try-get-value to retrieve the value from the property that you bind. That's all for me. Those are some references if you want. And also you can find this sample I showed you in the sample solution gallery. And thank you, everyone. Back to you, Hugo.
Thank you so much. That was really great to review this. We are doing great on time, and let's get ready for Adam to talk about the SharePoint Framework Toolkit v3.0 release. And it looks like Adam's already ready. Yeah.
Cool. We are going great on time until now. So, hi everybody. I will be showing you the v3 release of SharePoint Framework Toolkit. And if you don't know me, my name is, if the slides start moving, my name is Adam. I'm a simple standard dev, nothing special. I am an MVP and I'm part of the PMP core team and a maintainer of a couple of PMP products, maybe you use and love, like the CLI for Microsoft 365, couple of VS Code extensions, including this one, like SharePoint Framework Toolkit. And you just reach me out directly if you have any kind of questions. Okay, let's move on. So what is SharePoint Framework? Probably if you're on the call, probably you already know, but just a recap. It's an extensibility model that allows you to extend SharePoint, of course, Teams, Outlook.com, Microsoft 365.com, and Viva. Yeah, and this is the only extensibility model that allows you to extend Viva. It's quite awesome amongst many cool capabilities. The one that stands out most is auto hosting. So you don't need to host when your app is ready on some cloud or the cloud next to this cloud. It's on your tenant on SharePoint and it's covered for you. Okay, let's move on. And what is SharePoint Framework Toolkit then? Then this is a VS Code extension that you can download, of course, from the VS Code Marketplace. It's open source and open for contributions. We have a lot of currently smaller features you can contribute to and help us improve this tool and build it together. It's built together with Microsoft. So the biggest bigger features we include in this tool, like for example, the ones we included in the v3 release, which I will be presenting today, are rechecked and aligned with Microsoft if we are on the right track, if our imagination is aligned and stuff like that. So it's not something we just want to add. It's something we recheck with Microsoft and they say, okay, go for it. It's cool. Okay, we have PNP samples gallery included. I will show it today. We are using under the hood the same tooling as the one that's recommended for SPFx development, like the Yeoman SharePoint generator. And under the hood, it comes along with CLI for Microsoft 365. Oh, yeah, this is cool. So this is a inner dependency. You don't have to install CLI separately. Of course, you can, and you should, and it's really awesome. But it comes along with it under the hood, and it uses all of its capabilities. Currently, not all, but only some. But if you know CLI for M365, you know what it's capable of, and this extension then can also do the same. Really cool. Why should you use SharePoint Framework Toolkit? Well, if you are doing SPFx development, it helps you on every stage of development. So from the very beginning, when you are starting a new project or you're just introducing to SPFx and checking it out, how you can start, it helps you manage your solutions. So I will show you in a bit. It allows you when coding, when writing new code for your so adding new components for your, for example, web part, or extending your config, and helps you and has additional booster that helps you, for example, validate if your solution has the proper dependencies or upgrade it to the latest version or rename, and many more. It allows you to scaffold a CI/CD pipeline that will deliver it to your dev or production environment. Really awesome, and helps you with learning. And in V3, we improved the scaffolding process and added more features in each of those areas that will help you start, manage yours, so a lot of managed features, new area to scaffold the CI/CD pipeline in Azure DevOps. Before we had only GitHub support and NVM, and also NVS support, which was added by Hugo. Cool. So there are about 22 main features, but these are only main. To be honest, there are a lot more. And today I will be only showing you those that we added in the V3, and this will give you only a glance because I don't have time. But be aware that I'm preparing an demo series about this product, which will take it slow. We're gonna show every feature step by step, so you'll be aware, and we're gonna go with examples from each of those areas. And today, only those we included in the last major. Okay, and you might ask, because I already had this question, because there's already a VS Code extension that kind of supports SPFx development, right? Teams Toolkit kind of is. So Teams Toolkit is not only about SPFx, but about many other areas where you can extend basically M365, not only Teams. And one of those is SPFx web part. So this extension allows you to scaffold kind of and debug quickly your solution and ship it to your tenant. And SPFx Toolkit is mainly focusing on SharePoint framework development. So this is entirely only about this technology and this extensibility model. And in the when you are using Teams Toolkit to scaffold a new SPFx web part, it will also work when you are using SharePoint Framework Toolkit. So if your SPFx web part to extend a Teams tab is scaffolded not by the Yeoman SharePoint generator, but by Teams Toolkit, SPFx Toolkit will see, okay, I got you, I know how to read it, and will still work and will present you the managed features for this solution and also those action boosters to, for example, rename your solution or create a CI/CD pipeline. Okay, let's move on. So how to get started? Really easy. You go to the marketplace, you type SharePoint Framework, should be the first one on the list. I hope so. You click install and off you go. And then it presents you the welcome experience. So you have the left side navigation as your welcome experience, but also a walkthrough, which allows you not to learn and start with this VS Code extension, but with SharePoint Framework in general. So how to set up your dev tenant, how to check your dependencies and set up your local environment. So you only need nodes, nothing else. Then you click on this button and it basically checks if you have the proper version of .cli, the Yeoman SharePoint generator, and basically, if you don't have it, then it will install it for you with a single click. And then the next step, either in the walkthrough or in the welcome experience, is creating a new project, either from scratch or based on sample or open an existing one. And let's have a deep dive on creating a new project. So basically, probably before you were using your SharePoint framework, SharePoint generator to scaffold a new project in your terminal, It looks kind of hacky for newcomers. It could be overwhelming, and it's not that clear how many steps there are, what information is required to create a new. So basically, it could be improved, and there was a lot of feedback that it should be improved, and we, the community, basically improved it. So in the VS Code extension, you will now have a scaffolding form, which is really awesome. It's dynamic. It has only 3 steps, and 2 are obligatory to start. The first is optional. It's dynamic, so it validates what you type, if it's possible to create in this location the solution with this name. It supports every SharePoint framework extensibility, so ACES as well, library, and so on and so forth. And the form changes dynamically based on the project type you want to create, component type. And the third step is really cool. It's an additional step. It's a first step also, and we want to improve this area as well in the coming releases, where you can pick to add additional dependencies to your project. So besides scaffolding, you can, for example, also say that, okay, I want to install React reusable controls and PMP.js along the way. I don't want to type it. I just want to have it. I create a new project. I want to set up, and that's all. And off you go. And if you click on the create, just check it out. If you click on the output window, what do we use? We use the same command. So the Yeoman SharePoint generator. We didn't do anything hacky. We didn't do anything new here. We are using the same tooling that Microsoft recommends. So we are sure that we are doing it the right way. And after it is scaffolded, for a while you will see this new file, which is project PMP. When VS Code boots up, so when you scaffold a new project, the VS Code instance will not open a new instance, but will reopen in your new project, and then it will install those dependencies that you selected. So, for example, the reusable React controls or PMP.js. And we'll be improving in this area, not to only install the dependencies, but do a basic setup and add more additional things you can install along the way. But why would you start from scratch if you have so many samples? And probably this is you already familiar with the sample gallery, where you have, among many other samples, also the SPFx web parts extension and ACES and so on and so forth samples. And you can go to this page, download directly this sample, and then rename it for your purpose and so on and so forth. Why would you go here if you have this embedded in this VS Code extension? Just check it out. You go on the view samples, and the gallery is boom, it's here, and it shows you the samples only related to SPFx. And for example, it's not a competition, but Teams Toolkit has a similar feature that has like 40 template samples you can start, but we have 400. This is really awesome. It was all cool work done by the community. So thank you very much. And do you have filters that you can trim down only to the component you're interested in? You have different views to make it better for you. And besides just clicking on use and downloading it, you can go to the view, which will present you the same README file if you would go to the repo to this sample directly in VS Code. And since it is so awesome managed by Hugo, you here have basically all the information you need, what is supported for this sample, and then you can click on use, and before it's created, of course, you can have to pick the location, but also a new name. So this is probably what you already do either way, yeah? And then it's downloaded for you and started, and starts the npm install. Really cool. We added some managed features. We are still going to improve this area. So this is not only about coding, scaffolding any project, debugging, coding, and deploying, but also helping you managing what you already have and what's your current condition. So there are 2 tabs in the VS Code extension, the account tab and the app catalog details tab. In the account tab, you have helpful links like to the admin side or your main SharePoint side, or to the web API permission side to, for example, approve the permissions. You have links to all of your currently opened active service health incidents. So this could give you a glance why maybe some API is not responding. And clicking on it will redirect you to the service health incident admin center. In the app catalog list, you have the tenant app catalog and the site app catalog. Currently, it only lists it, but we are going to improve here. So for example, if there is no app catalog at all, we want to give you a feature that will allow you to create a new one. So we will be able to create an app catalog from VS Code extension without going to SharePoint. Awesome, yeah. And we present you the tenant-wide extension list. So all of your extensions that are currently available on all of your on the whole tenant, you have this list only here. Currently, you can just click and go to this extension directly. In the future, we want to give you more managed features to, for example, remove this tenant-wide extension or deactivate it. And the same for SPFx packages installed on each catalog. But this is going to come. And one of the last things probably I'm able to cover today is the feature that we allow you to scaffold a CI/CD workflow, a CI/CD pipeline, basically, if we're talking about other DevOps. Before V3 release, we supported only GitHub workflows, and now we support Azure DevOps as well. And basically, it also presents a form directly in VS Code, so there's nothing hacky about it. And it doesn't integrate with Azure DevOps. It will scaffold a YAM pipeline, which then you can git commit and push to Azure DevOps and set up a pipeline based on this YAM file. So you don't need to know YAM. You will have a working workflow YAM file generated by this tool. Really awesome. And there's a couple of options. Those that are already pre-filled, you can just scroll down, click generate, and it will give you a perfectly working file, YAM file. Pipeline basically, yeah. But the first one is just some general what we like to have the name of your pipeline, and what will be the branch name that will trigger the pipeline on every push, so every PR merge to this branch. Then you have the authentication section where you can choose between application authentication mode, yeah, which is recommended, I would say, for production use, or user authentication method, which for sure another production kind of thing, but you can do it for your dev tenant. It will only support if you're the user you will be using in your pipeline doesn't have MFA turned on. But basically, you should go with application, and if you don't have an application registry set up, yeah, check it out. You can do it basically directly from the form. So if you click on this, generate a certificate and create an app registration for me, then you need to provide, of course, your password, which we don't save. You need to remember it, and what will be the name of the Entra app registration, which this tool will create for you. And this is just bananas, right? But why do you need such a thing? If you are just starting your road, maybe you're wondering where Azure DevOps is a separate thing. It's a separate cloud next to your cloud, or I don't know how it works, but basically it's not part of your tenant. And that's where you store your YAM pipeline that generates your repository, your code, and your YAM pipeline that generates your SPFx package, and that your M365 tenant is a thing next to it, and your SharePoint is on it. And when you want to deploy your package to it, you have to somehow log in. It's the same thing to what you would do manually. You need to log into SharePoint to drag and drop this package, and Azure DevOps pipeline needs to do the same. It needs to log in to your SharePoint tenant to be able to do it. And you have two possibilities, as I said, user or application. And what this tool does for you, it will set up on your tenant a new app registration using the certificate login. It will give you all of, and along the way, it will provide all of those needed scopes of permissions to do to the app catalog. And the certificate will be used in this pipeline to basically log in and deploy your solution. Really awesome. So to do this feature under hood, for example, not for example, but particularly we use CLI here. Cool. Let's go back. I want to create a new project. Then in the last step, I can pick if I want to have the solution deployed in a tenant app catalog or site app catalog. If site, I can pick which one, and then I click on generate. It will set up something. I will show it in a while, but basically you created something awesome. I always wanted to do something awesome, and it gives you guidance what you can do then with it to set it up on Azure DevOps. So basically you need to commit and push it. Then you have all the instructions. What are the secrets you will need to add? Basically, it's recommended to use the variable group. I will present it really quick in a bit. And at the bottom, you can see those are the secrets you will need to add. So yeah, don't hack my tenant, but of course, thankfully, not the whole certificate base is present here. But you can copy it directly from the table and create a new variable with the same, and it will work. And check this out. So you have a link to the app registration it's created for you. If you click on it, it will direct you to your Entra ID, to this newly created app specifically for your workflow. And it has the certificate set up already for you. And then it scopes. Okay, the scopes are a bit too much. If you would be deploying for a site app catalog, the site's full control is a bit too much. So it's a bit of a God mode application, but it's a good starting for sure. And then what it's scaffolded in your project, it will create you a new Azure DevOps Pipelines folder, and there you will have your YAM. You don't basically need to understand YAM, but if you do, I would highly recommend. I will do a deep dive on it in my demo series along the way, but basically it's really easy language. So you have the name of the branch that will trigger, it will run on Ubuntu. Then the variable section, which you can pre-fill, which is not kind of recommended. You should move it to the variable group. Then you have a setup node version. Then the section will basically build your project, and then whoa, check it out. So it installs CLI under the hood and uses CLI for Microsoft 365 script to log in, set the URL, add the package, and deploy it to cutoff. Cool. Next, we add the commit, add magic, push it, and we are on Azure DevOps. With it, it's not like GitHub that will automatically pick it up and GitHub Actions will run. No, Azure DevOps is a different kind of thing. It needs additional love. So you need to go to the pipeline section, and what I'm describing, it's in the guidance. So you don't need to know it. You don't need to be an expert. It's the second point here. So go to the new pipeline, then Azure repos Git. So that's where you store your code. Then the branch. So the repository, then pick the that you want to create a pipeline based on existing YAML file. This is your YAML file. You can review it and click on run. But before you run, you need to prefill those variables there. And it's recommended not to do it directly here in the YAML because it will be part of your code and visible, therefore visible in your repository. You should rather go to the library and add a new variable group. Doesn't matter what name you will add, but then you can go in the variable sections of this variable group, copy paste from the table that were presented when you created in the VS Code extension those properties. As you can see now, they are not visible, so they're encrypted like a password. And this is really awesome because you can also leverage the other keywords here. And security, so you can, for example, have some admins of this pipeline that are allowed to modify those variables in this group, and developers only in read-only mode. And then you just need to change in the pipeline that you will be using properties in this group. That's it. You click on run, it runs, I hope, and it will deploy your package created by this pipeline to the app catalog every time you run it, either manually or push something new to the main page. Okay, I already exceeded my time, so our roadmap. Up ahead, we are already looking at V4, and we are going to support logging to multiple tenants and multiple accounts. We're going to, as I said, add more managed features for your SPFx solutions. We want to give you a new feature that will help you set up a dev container for your SPFx project. That's really cool if you want to start leveraging and using code spaces. We want to support multiple SPFx projects because now it allows you to manage, and it will basically run if your VS Code instance is open in a single SPFx solution that can have a couple of SPFx components like web part extension. But what if you want to go one folder above and be in a folder that has a couple of projects? So we want to add the support like multi-project and multiple accounts and multiple tenants. See what we are going here? Yeah, multiple universe. Okay, and then whoa, and then extend the scaffolding process with additional optional steps, for example, to install additional dependencies, and more settings to make this VS Code extension customizable. Okay, that's all from my side. Thanks for all for watching. If you are interested, go visit our repo, the aka.ms/viva/VS Code. And as I said, in the near future, I know I was speeding, but we're gonna take it slow next time and save those dates. We're gonna do a demo series about this tool specifically. Happy coding, everybody. Back to you, Hugo.
Wow, thank you so much. I feel like we need to take a 5-minute break so all our brains can catch up with all the awesome information you shared today. But let me share my screen. All right, so we had 3 amazing demos by Denis, Guido, and Adam. Thank you to all our presenters. We would love for you to join our community feedback. Give us feedback about the calls. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. And again, you can go to aka.ms/community/calls/feedback and let us know how we can improve. And of course, good feedback is always accepted. You can also join our official Discord server where you can connect, learn, and collaborate. We have over 1,950 members who are always pretty much on throughout the day. So feel free to connect and ask questions, collaborate with others. We love to hear from people. That's it for us for today. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you, everyone, for presenting and participating. The recording for this call will be available in 24 hours on the Microsoft Community Learning YouTube channel. You can go to aka.ms/community/videos. You can follow us on Twitter at Microsoft365Dev and M365PNP. And our next Viva Connections and SPFx call will be May 30th at 7 a.m. Pacific time. Our next Microsoft 365 and Power Platform call is going to be May 23rd at 7 a.m. Pacific time. And again, you can get all the community calls by going to aka.ms/community/calls. And with that, we are finishing right on time. Thanks, everyone.